evening, I'm Britt Clennett in Hong Kong and welcome to ViewTV News. Coming up on tonight's show. New, more relaxed subsidence limits means construction work at the exhibition station on the MTR's Sha Tin to Central link can resume. Tragedy strikes Indonesia after a deadly earthquake and tsunami claim the lives of at least 384 people and destroys scores of buildings. And a hack attack on Facebook. The social media giant says a major security breach has exposed nearly 50 million accounts to a full takeover. First up tonight, construction work has resumed at the exhibition centre station of the Sha Tin Central Link following a 1.5-month-long break. The move comes after the government relaxed the statutory subsidence limits there, as Lydia Sung reports.
Hong Kong's costliest rail project has been plagued by multiple subsidence issues and work scandals. The MTR was specifically forced to stop all excavation works at the future exhibition centre station because many monitoring points there recorded sinking that went beyond permitted levels. The original authorized range at the Wan Chai site was 10 to 25 millimeters. But now officials have approved new levels for all the monitoring points, ranging from 30 to 95 millimeters. Take one of those points as an example where 77 millimeters sinking was found. That used to be more than double the safety limit. But now works can resume after the revision pushed the permitted level to 95 millimeters. The Highways Department says the relaxed standards won't pose a threat to public safety. Authorities added there's now a new mechanism in place to keep tabs on the MTR regarding the issue of subsidence. The rail giant will have to immediately suspend works if subsidence at any of those points hits the levels and report it to both the Buildings Department and Highways Department so that they can conduct an inspection within 48 hours. The operator will also have to update LegCo about the subsidence data and work resumption of those problematic monitoring points. Lydia Song, ViewTV News.
A delegation from the Federation of Trade Unions is currently visiting Beijing. Earlier today, the group met Vice Premier Han Zheng. The Chinese leader praised the Federation for being patriotic and expressed his approval for their work on safeguarding labour rights in the 70 years since its establishment. The group of 40, led by the Liaison Office Director Wang Zhemen and FTU President Ng Chao Pei, met Han in the Great Hall of the People. They will stay in the capital for 2 more days and will also visit the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. Well, an anti-Article 23 banner was on display on Beacon Hill in Shek Kip Mei. Police received a report at around 2 a.m. saying a banner was hanging off a rock up on Beacon Hill, which is right above Long Yan Road. The 8-by-2-metre yellow banner with the words anti-Article 23 was removed by the fire department this morning. Well, it's been 2 weeks since Super Typhoon Mangkhut ripped through Hong Kong and left behind a trail of destruction. Today, Financial Secretary Paul Chan visited Fanling to see how recovery efforts are coming along. Chan visited a site where about 20 off-duty firefighters and customs officers were clearing collapsed trees. The minister himself put on a helmet and gloves to help remove the branches. He stayed there for about 40 minutes. There were also off-duty officers from different government departments carrying out similar cleanups across the city. Well, residents in Heng Fa Tsuen have suffered from the last 2 super typhoons, which caused severe damage to their neighbourhood. They want the government to build better typhoon-proof structures, but as Alman Lee reports, one expert says the location makes it difficult to protect.
Typhoon Hato last year and Mangkhut this month brought enormous waves to Heng Fa Tsuen. One expert says this coastal residential compound is particularly vulnerable due to its geography.
Huge waves can travel all the way from the Philippines to Heng Fa Tsuen without one single barrier in the way to break them.
This breakwater is the only one along the Heng Fa Tsuen shoreline, and residents want to have it extended so it will better protect the area when strong waves strike. But the district councillor here says the government has no intention of doing so.
The government says it's not about the money, but then those breakwaters and flood storage should have been built by now. The authorities didn't respond to our requests at all.
However, according to Raymond Chen, the task isn't an easy one because Hangfa-Chun's waterway is a major navigation route.
A lot of sediment is needed to fill the seabed and enable it to break the waves, and those need to be spared widely. This will affect the waterway.
For the moment, many residents have decided to take matters into their own hands. They are planning to install some 1.5-meter boards along the shoreline to prevent flooding if another typhoon crashes into Hong Kong.
All right, coming up next, the latest from the world of business. China's top diplomat has tried to allay concerns over frictions between Beijing and Washington amid an escalating trade war between the world's two biggest economies. Speaking on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, Wang Yi also made it clear China would not be blackmailed or cave into pressure over trade. Earlier in the week, US President Donald Trump had accused Beijing of seeking to meddle in the upcoming congressional elections in a bid to influence Washington's trade policy. Wang rejected the accusations and said China is not seeking to overtake the US.
I want to tell you very clearly that China will follow a path of development different from historical powers. It is a path with Chinese features. It means that China will not repeat the old practice of a strong country seeking hegemony. I don't think China will become the United States, and China will not challenge the United States.
Facebook shares were dealt a blow in US trading, dropping 2.6%. That's after the Silicon Valley giant revealed that hackers stole digital login codes, allowing them to take over nearly 50 million user accounts. Facebook says it has yet to determine whether the attacker misused any accounts or stole private information. Jane Lee reports.
Facebook revealing a hack that exposed almost 50 million accounts. The social media giant on Friday saying its team discovered a security breach earlier this week. The View As feature that shows what your account looks like to the public had a vulnerability in its code, which allowed hackers to break in. Facebook says it turned off the View As feature for now, and it reset those 50 million accounts and another 40 million just to be safe. That means those users will have to use their passwords to log back into their accounts. As it only just started its investigation, Facebook said it hasn't figured out if any of these accounts were misused or information accessed, and it doesn't know who's behind the attack or where they're based. The news comes at a tough time for Facebook, already struggling with the fallout from an earlier data privacy scandal involving the political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica, and criticism that it didn't do enough to prevent the alleged Russian government meddling in the 2016 presidential election. And along with other social media companies, Facebook has been working to guard against any political interferences on its platform, with rising concern about attempts to disrupt the November U.S. midterm elections.
Tesla also had another rough ride on Wall Street overnight. Shares in the electric car maker tumbled again during trading and ended the session down nearly 14%. According to reports, CEO Elon Musk walked away at the last minute from a settlement with US regulators. Sources say the billionaire entrepreneur could still reach an agreement with them, but that he's also prepared to go to trial. Investors are nervous about Tesla's future after the SEC sued Musk on Thursday, saying it was seeking to remove him as an officer or director. That's in the wake of Musk's infamous tweets last month, in which he said he was considering taking his company private and had secured funding. The SEC has accused Musk of fraud, but the Tesla boss maintains he did nothing wrong. Now, for most people around the world, Pizza Hut is a family-friendly, affordable and quick dining option. But on the mainland, parent company Yum China has spent millions adding bells and whistles to the franchise in a bid to boost sales. Eve Johnson explains.
This isn't your neighborhood Pizza Hut. Located in a fancy mall in Shanghai, it boasts brass lamps, Italian marble, and Australian steaks, all part of a high-end makeover. Pizza Hut has more than 2,200 outlets across China, but over the past year, sales have been falling. Reuters' Adam Jordan explains what's gone wrong.
The issue for Pizza Hut is partly to do with where it sits here in the China market. They've brought out some products to try and give themselves a sort of a glitzier side, which haven't always worked. Things like they have escargot snails on the menu. They had a pizza with very expensive shellfish abalone as a topping. And some of these products haven't really worked for them here.
The solution? Keep pushing the premium image, but aim for a younger crowd. Pizza Hut says it spent around $60 million over the last year on a massive upgrade, streamlining the menu and adding some pop culture cachet. A tie-up with American fashion designer Anna Sui to give the company a whole new look. This isn't parent company Yum China's first salvage job. A series of food safety scares beginning in 2012 hit sales at another of its brands, KFC. But the company was able to turn things around, a success story that Pizza Hut is hoping to repeat.
All right, time for a break now, but do stay with us. Up next, a powerful earthquake and tsunami bring death and destruction to this Indonesian island. Authorities are now racing to send aid across to the victims.
One world, infinite visions. View TV 6. Take a trip to the land down under. Behind every native animal surviving in the wild.
Can we talk about this?
Or the furry babies living in different households.
This is a massive open gash. I don't think a positioning is too bad.
There's a dedicated veterinary team.
That's just such a good result.
Because animal lives matter.
Look after my girl.
Thank you so much.
Bondi Vet. Tonight at 8 on View TV 6. Hard-hitting investigative reports. Newsmaker interviews. Compelling human interest stories. Life-changing reports. News magazine that draws you in. 2020. Tonight at 9:30 on View TV 6.
In the enchanted land of Equestria, Unicorn Twilight Sparkle and her pony friends take on the adventure of a lifetime. Together they face exciting challenges that they've never had before and discover the elements of harmony with honesty, kindness, laughter, generosity, loyalty, and magic. The main six learn about the most powerful magic of all, friendship. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Monday to Friday, 7:30 on View TV 6.
No food.
Need some food.
No shelter.
I have to build up my shelter.
No fresh water.
There we go. I need this.
No tools.
This I can make use of.
No camera crew.
There's just not enough to gather here. There's not enough to hunt.
Just one man alone in the wilderness, surviving. Survivor Man. Wednesday night at 8:30 on View TV 6.
Welcome back. In Indonesia, at least 384 people have been killed after a powerful earthquake struck parts of the country, triggering a tsunami overnight. Officials there warn the death toll is expected to rise as rescuers search through the debris. Michelle Hennessy has the details.
This is the moment a deadly earthquake struck Indonesia, triggering a tsunami that's battered parts of the Southeast Asian nation. Dozens have been killed and rescuers were searching for survivors through the night. The 7.5 magnitude quake hit Indonesia's Sulawesi island at nightfall. It was the second quake to rock the region that day and triggered a tsunami with waves up to 6 feet high, sweeping through the scenic tourist town of Palu. On Saturday, local media showed military personnel loading cargo planes with relief aid to help victims of the disaster. The military chief says Marine Corps and Army health units are also being deployed. It's been a deadly year for Indonesia, which sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, making it prone to powerful quakes. Dozens of villages were destroyed in the island of Lombok in August by a series of major earthquakes that killed more than 500 people.
Elsewhere, Japan has found itself in the path of a typhoon which pummeled Okinawa today. Typhoon Trami is unleashing strong winds and heavy rains, which caused power outages and travel disruptions across a number of cities. Several flights between Hong Kong and Okinawa and Osaka today were delayed or cancelled due to the storm. Several homes in Okinawa were also evacuated, with hundreds being moved to shelters, according to local news sources. Trami is predicted to move across the islands of Kyushu and the main island of Honshu tomorrow. Human rights lawyer Amal Clooney has called on Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi to pardon Reuters journalists Wah Lone and Cho So-u. They were sentenced to 7 years in prison this month after reporting on the killing of Rohingya Muslims in the country. At a UN panel discussion with the Committee to Protect Journalists, Clooney took aim at Suu Kyi, warning that history will judge her on her response. Despite international pressure, Suu Kyi has defended the court's ruling.
This case is about much more than just two innocent men. I mean, if you care about press freedom, you care about this case because it sets a precedent. So if these people are locked up, then other people are too scared to do the kind of reporting that they do. And the kind of reporting that they do is important for all of us because it tells us what's going on in the world.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan has called on Berlin to extradite what he said were the hundreds of supporters of the cleric Fethullah Gulen who are living in Germany. Erdogan made the comment at a joint news conference with German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Erdogan arrived in Germany on Thursday for a 3-day visit aimed at rebuilding strained relations between the two countries. In the US, the scandal surrounding Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh will now be formally investigated. Under pressure from lawmakers in his own party, President Donald Trump has ordered an FBI probe into sexual misconduct allegations against the judge. Our correspondent in New York, Julia Sun, has been following the action.
Yes, shortly after the Judiciary Committee voted on party lines 11-10 to advance the nomination, Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona, who, by the way, voted in favor of Kavanaugh, called in the FBI. President Donald Trump authorized the investigation late Friday, and then Kavanaugh said through a statement issued by the White House that he would cooperate. The prospect of this new investigation put the confirmation chances for Kavanaugh in further doubt. The Senate, as you know, is only narrowly controlled by the Republican Party, 51-49, and it's unclear if the GOP can hold on to the majority after the midterm elections. This investigation is expected to take 1 week, and before the conclusion of that, there won't be a vote. So it looks like the earliest time that Senate vote may happen is the second week of October. The two key voters to watch are Senator Susan Collins and Senator Lisa Murkowski. Both of them are female. Both are relatively moderate, and neither has decided. Senator Murkowski told Reuters after Dr. Christine Ford's testimony that she finds Dr. Ford credible, but of course, it could still go either way. So that's what we'll be watching next on top of any findings from the FBI.
Okay, and on to our next story. Now we are going to turn to the Middle East, where Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is trying to turn military success into post-war reconstruction. The country's army is easing the movement of goods and people in government-held areas after years of paralysis. But as Lucy Fielder reports, the reopened routes also reveal the extent of Syria's destruction.
This train station in Damascus has just reopened as the economy gets into gear in government-controlled areas after 7 years of war. Syrian army gains backed by Russian air power have extended government control over large swathes of the country, and people are taking journeys that were once unthinkable, says Reuters' Angus McDowell.
This is the first train out of this station in Damascus for 6 years. For all that time there was fighting just over there, but now the station has opened up, and they hope eventually to reopen the line to run all the way to Aleppo, not just the very short route which is opening today.
But a scenic route it isn't. The view from the window, the ruins of fighting around the capital, a reminder of the deadly cost of this returning calm, and that war still rages around Idlib in the north. Mohammed Abul Khair sends 25 buses a day from Damascus to Aleppo, an 8-hour trip that until recently took 2 days.
Now we can go everywhere. Before, we could only travel during the day so we would know where we were going. Now the bus can go to Aleppo day and night.
People can now travel around the half of Syria under President Bashar al-Assad's rule and into the quarter held by a US-backed Kurdish alliance. Only the rebel-held quarters out of bounds.
In a country that was earlier in the conflict fragmented into many different areas, making travel difficult, long, expensive, dangerous, and in some cases absolutely impossible, is now divided only into a small number of areas of control. And that means that, unlike in years past, people are now able to travel very freely and very easily from Damascus to the other main cities.
Conditions are still harsh, even in Assad's territory. Whole towns lie in ruins and numerous checkpoints control the roads. Of the international borders, only Lebanon still works. But compared to the days when passengers risked being murdered, kidnapped or killed in clashes, times are clearly moving on.
Time for sports. Tennis first, and Andy Murray has apparently decided to throw in the towel ahead of his appearance in Beijing for the China Open. That's after the 31-year-old's revival was cut short at the hands of Fernando Verdasco during the quarterfinals of the Shenzhen Open. Murray lost 6-4, 6-4 against Verdasco before reportedly deciding to end his season. The BBC says Murray might even skip the China Open due to a slight ankle problem. Instead, the Scotsman may decide to concentrate on training for the Australian Open in January. In golf, Europe returned swinging against the US in a Ryder Cup comeback that left their opponents stunned on day 2 of the tournament. The hosts took a 5-3 overnight lead in devastating fashion after sweeping the foursomes thanks to Sergio Garcia and rookie Alex Noren. The pair put their counterparts Phil Mickelson and first-timer Bryson DeChambeau on the back foot. Europe's Tommy Fleetwood and Francesco Molinari picked up the lead to end a memorable day by thrashing Americans Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas 5-4. All right, turning to football now. A big game this weekend in the English Premier League. Top seed Liverpool and third place Chelsea are going head-to-head. Both teams are unbeaten and, of course, have their eyes set on the champion title. Our sports correspondent Oliver Regan has more.
So early in the season, but so much at stake. Top of the table, Liverpool travel to unbeaten Chelsea in the Premier League's standout fixture. And for former Chelsea player and manager Ruud Gullit, despite his links with the London club, he thinks they're going to the match as underdogs.
For me, Liverpool is favourite. I like the way they play their football. It can be risky, but it's nice to watch. And I think that attacking football always should be awarded.
Liverpool's front three of Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino and Sadio Mane have made a habit of terrorising defenders. How do you stop them? Well, former Chelsea centre-back John Terry admits it's very difficult.
I don't think you can if you're on their game. You know, I just think we've got enough firepower in the Chelsea lineup as well, you know, to score enough goals. So even though you look at them and you show them respect because they are quality going forward and defensively, but, you know, you have to look no further than the Chelsea side and it's more than capable of getting the result.
But Chelsea boast their own talented talisman in Eden Hazard, and for Terry, he's one of the world's best.
A couple of people recently are coming out and saying he's not kind of the finished article, but believe me, he really is. And he's up there with Messi and Ronaldo, without a shadow of a doubt. I've seen him day in, day out for the last 5-6 years, and he's a top player. And he will only get better as well.
Both Chelsea and Liverpool have their eyes on a tilt at the title. And whilst the season is still in its infancy, the winner of this match will make an early statement of intent.
And finally, breaking into a sweat over Brexit has taken on new meaning in London. A gym in the British capital says it's found one way to diffuse the public's frustration over Parliament's deadlock. Brex Fit offers its patrons a chance to take aim at politicians through some rather innovative workout circuits. They were apparently designed with the help of an anger management expert. And if you're looking for an escape that doesn't necessarily involve leaving the EU, this might just be for you. All right, that's it for now. Do make sure you join us a bit later for an update on the stories that are shaping your world. I'm Britt Clennett, and this is View TV News. Bye for now.
Coming up next, The Paleo Way Season 1.